Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. If you've not yet, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss updates like this. Alright, let's dive straight in. So there's a new headline. Making rounds. Negotiation done for Simon Ekpa release. Biafra congratulation. That's a heavy one and it deserves careful unpacking. What's true? What's speculation? And what does it mean for our scene here in Nigeria, especially in the southeast with the Biafra agitation? Let me walk you through what we know, what's likely, and what to watch out for. First, some background so we don't lose folks partway. Simon Ekpa is a prominent figure tied to the Biafra movement. He is often associated with a splinter part of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, or the Biafra Republic Government in Exile, BRGIE. He has lived and operated from Finland for some time, and he's also had legal troubles there. In September 2025, a Finnish court sentenced him to 6 years for charges including terrorism-related offenses, aggravated tax fraud, and violation of legal ethics. So that's the setting. A controversial leader, operating from abroad, facing serious charges under Finnish law. Now comes this claim. Negotiations have been completed for his release, and Biafra, or supporters, are congratulating. Let's ask the big question. Is this real? From what is publicly verifiable, nothing credible has surfaced to confirm that negotiations are done, that conditions have been accepted, or that a release is imminent. The major credible news sources, like AP, report that Ekpa is imprisoned and convicted. It's possible that the headline reflects a rumor or a narrative pushed by factions that support Ekpa or want to show momentum. Political movements often use such messages to boost morale, shift perceptions, or pressure decision makers. So right now, I place this negotiation done claim under unverified claim, rumor territory. Why would such a claim be floated? A few possibilities: morale and support. Telling supporters he's coming home boosts hope, keeps people engaged, and keeps the narrative going. Leverage and pressure. If the Finnish or Nigerian governments or intermediaries are in talks, circulation of the rumor could be a negotiation tactic to force actors to respond, to commit publicly. Political messaging wars. In movements like Biafra, different factions compete for legitimacy. Claiming you brokered a release is a strong legitimacy move. Disinformation, misdirection. Rival groups or state actors might also plant such stories to confuse or provoke reactions. Let me also connect this with Nnamdi Kanu, another central figure in the Biafra story. Kanu, detained in Nigeria, remains a lightning rod. The leadership struggle, the narratives of who speaks for Biafra, and the legitimacy claims are all entangled between Ekpa and the IPOB leadership around Kanu. In fact, IPOB has publicly rejected negotiation claims around Kanu's release in past instances. So when someone says negotiation done for Ekpa, it also triggers reactions. Will Kanu's faction accept that? Will they claim it undermines them? Will supporters split? What should you, as someone watching this story closely, pay attention to now? Official statements from Finnish courts or justice ministers, reactions from Kanu's camp, Ras, IPOB leadership, any documented agreements or documents, leaks, publishings, media investigations, credible journalism, how the narrative shifts on social media and local communities. Let me wrap this part. I'm not convinced yet the headline is true, but it's serious enough to warrant attention. If you like what you're hearing, again, like and subscribe. Share this video so others hear the breakdown, and let me know in the comments what you believe. Is the negotiation real or just smoke? Now, related talk. Let me tie this into something broader. How liberation or separatist movements manage news and claims. In many parts of the world, movements use announcements of victory, deals, or breakthroughs as tools. Sometimes before those deals are fully signed. It gives psychological advantage, galvanizes supporters, and forces opponents to respond. In Nigeria, with deep polarization, such announcements carry huge weight. But that also means, watch out. Not everything you see is settled. Some may be aspirational, some strategic, some misdirection. So when you hear release done, ask who says it, when, with what proof, and who stands to gain from the claim. Also, it's worth reflecting. If indeed Ekpa is released earlier than his sentence, that would be a political earthquake. Finland might be under pressure. Nigeria will face big questions, and internal Biafra dynamics might shift. So, let's look deeper into what might be happening behind the scenes, if indeed there are talks or negotiations about Simon Ekpa's situation. Usually, when you hear the word negotiation in international legal or political matters, it doesn't necessarily mean release is done. It could mean talks are ongoing, maybe between lawyers, between his supporters and Finnish authorities, or even through diplomatic channels that involve Nigeria indirectly. Remember, Ekpa's activism ties into Nigeria's domestic politics, so any legal movement around him could easily become political news here. Now, one theory flying around social media, and again, let's be careful here, is that some prominent figures sympathetic to the Biafra cause have been pushing for diplomatic intervention, saying that Ekpa's sentence was too harsh or politically motivated. However, Finland is known for being a country that separates politics from judicial processes. So it's not easy to imagine them bowing to outside political pressure. Still, there could be humanitarian or procedural grounds, like appeals, health issues, or good conduct, that might reduce his time. If his legal team is working on that, some supporters may interpret or announce it as negotiation done, even before an official decision comes out. Now, let's look at how this is playing back home. In the southeast of Nigeria, the name Simon Ekpa is polarizing. Some see him as a freedom fighter, others blame him for worsening insecurity, especially with the so-called sit-at-home orders that affected businesses, schools, and daily life. Many residents in the region are tired. They just want peace. They want progress. They want normalcy. So, if the news of his release becomes official, it will trigger strong, mixed reactions. Supporters will celebrate. You might see videos, flags, and online posts declaring victory. But for others, especially those who lost livelihoods or loved ones during violence linked to separatist tensions, they might feel uneasy. Some may fear a fresh wave of agitation or unrest. That's why the Nigerian government will be watching closely too. Even though Ekpa operates outside the country, his influence on the ground, through messages, broadcasts, and directives, has been strong. So any talk of his release could quickly turn into a political issue for the government in Abuja. Now, let's talk briefly about what this could mean for the Biafra movement itself. The truth is, the movement has become fragmented. There's the original IPOB structure loyal to Nnamdi Kanu, and then there are factions that follow Simon Ekpa's version of the struggle. Over the years, we've seen both sides blame each other, even accuse each other of sabotage. So, imagine if Ekpa actually gets released, or even if people believe he's released, it could shift influence and create new rivalries. And that brings us to the question, what happens to Nnamdi Kanu? Many supporters have been asking if Ekpa's release is possible. Why is Kanu still detained? That conversation will only get louder if the rumor gains traction. We might see renewed calls for Kanu's release, pressure on the federal government, and possibly renewed protests. So this single headline, even if unconfirmed, has ripple effects across multiple layers of Nigeria's political and security landscape. Let's also remember that 2025 is a politically sensitive year. Nigeria is going through economic challenges, inflation, insecurity, fuel issues, and youth unemployment. So, topics like this easily capture attention because they connect to frustrations and hope. Some see the Biafra idea as a way out. Others see it as a distraction from real governance reforms. Either way, the conversation touches emotions deeply rooted in Nigeria's history. And that's why, as a journalist and news presenter, I always say, before we react, let's verify, because misinformation spreads faster than fact. Today it's Ekpa released. Tomorrow it could be he's in Abuja. And the next day he's forming a government. But until official documents or verified court statements confirm, we treat it as developing news. Now, let's touch briefly on what people online are saying. On X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, and even TikTok, you can see hashtags like YesFree, Simon Ekpa, Biafra Victory, and Negotiation Done trending. A lot of these posts are celebratory, showing clips, flags, and even edited videos. But again, a lot of that content has no verified source. Some might even be AI-generated clips or voiceovers pretending to be official announcements. That's why it's important for you as a viewer, before sharing, double-check the source. Don't let yourself become part of spreading false news, even unintentionally. Also, I want to highlight something. Beyond the political story, there's a human story here too. Whether you agree with Ekpa's methods or not, he's someone's son, father, friend. There are families on both sides, victims of violence, and the families of those involved in the movement, all affected by the cycle of agitation and state response. So, any news about release or negotiation affects real people, not just headlines. That's why peace, dialogue, and development must always be at the center of any movement or demand. Before we wrap up this second part, let me say this. If indeed negotiations are happening, and I mean genuine, behind-the-scenes efforts, it could also open the door for broader reconciliation. Maybe not immediately, but it could lead to renewed talks about addressing grievances in the Southeast. Economic neglect, infrastructure, representation, and justice. Because at the end of the day, the Biafra issue is not just about independence. It's about fairness, inclusion, and trust in the system. And that's what Nigeria really needs now. Healing and honest dialogue, not more division. Alright, let me stop here for now. If you're still watching, that means you're enjoying the breakdown. So again, please like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss part 3. Because next, we'll discuss what this whole issue means for Nigeria's image abroad, the role of Finland, and what the future might hold for Simon Ekpa's movement. and for Biafra generally.